Hey folks, and welcome to the Truck King YouTube channel. If you watch the channel, you know we love doing towing tests, and one of the hardest ways to test a truck is by towing a travel trailer, and that's what we're gonna do today. Oh, by the way, it's really windy out here. That's gonna make it even harder. So what have we brought? Well, that is the classic Detroit Challenger, the 2022 Chevy Silverado fit with a 6.2 liter V8 versus the latest technology from Toyota. That's the 2022 Tundra Limited fit with a twin turbo V6. And we're gonna see which one pulls that trailer better. A big shout out goes to Gimme Shelter RV in Mono, Ontario for use of this unit. If you're looking for a travel trailer in Southern Ontario, go to GimmeRV.com. Let's start with the walk around, and we have to talk powertrains. Here in the Tundra, we have the base 3.5 liter V6 twin turbo. This thing is making 389 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. But what I do want to tell you is that there are two powertrains available, this one and then the hybrid, but there are actually 3 different power outputs available. If you get a base model Tundra SR, you're only getting about 340 horsepower. So essentially a detuned version of this engine. If you go for anything above the SR, you'll get the numbers I mentioned earlier. Oh, and by the way, that's all sent through a new 10-speed auto. Over here at Chevrolet, they will sell you a Silverado with turbo power, but that's just a little turbo 4-cylinder. Chevy doesn't do the big turbos, at least not yet. They still rely on big old, naturally aspirated V8s, and that's what we have here. That's a 6.2 liter, making 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque, and that is also sent through a 10-speed automatic. In this video, we are really focusing on the towing experience. If you want to know more about both of these trucks, we've got plenty of videos on the channel that you can go check out. So with that in mind, let's dive into the numbers. And the first one is payload. Over there on the Tundra, this model as we have it, it's a double cab limited. It has 1,490 pounds of payload. A pretty good number for a half ton, and I will say that number feels bigger than any of the last generation Tundras we ever got. We've always complained about low payload on Tundra. 1490 is pretty good. Over here on the Chevy, it's actually a hair better at 1510. So the Chevy gets 20 more pounds of payload. But what about towing? Well, over there in the Toyota, a 4x4 double cab limited, and yes, Toyota lists it by trim level. I appreciate that. This truck can do 11,100 pounds of towing. Over here on the Chevy, you look at the handy dandy door jamb sticker, which I absolutely love because it gives you all your details, and you'll know that this truck can pull 9,100 pounds. And here's the backup camera on the Tundra. You can adjust the different guidelines you have over here. And then Dad, we can also zoom it in for you there. Oh, it's a little slippery out here today. Okay folks, here we are out on the road, and we're starting here in the new Tundra. Now first, let's talk about the trailer we have on behind us. Dry weight on that trailer is just about 7,000 pounds, so a really nice test. And I mentioned this before too, it's quite a windy day out here, and having a travel trailer on when it's windy, well, it's gonna catch the wind and really test the stability of the truck and some of the systems on the truck too. So speaking of systems on the truck, here in this new Tundra, we do have the new 2-stage tow haul mode. So we have it in tow haul plus. That's for trailers over about 5,000 pounds. And yeah, no, Dad, I'll throw it over to you. You've been pulling for a little bit. What have you been feeling out of the Tundra?
Well, let's talk about the tow haul plus. Does a couple of things, and we're in some hilly terrain here. One of the nice things is that as soon as you start heading downhill, there are downshifts, and the back pressure and the transmission have been doing a really good job of holding the load. I can go down most of these fairly steep grades without ever wanting to touch the brake. And On the upside, the shifts are low enough that, again, we're going up some steep stuff, and it's managing quite well. People, you know, would expect that with a V6 turbo, it's going to want to really hunt because at low RPMs, and like right now we're not traveling very quick here, 30 miles an hour. You'd think it would always be downshifting, particularly on the uphills, but it's not really doing that. It's actually more power here than I would have expected without really having to get into the turbo.
Yeah, I mean, from the passenger seat, the power feels fine. It certainly doesn't feel like it's lacking, and it also doesn't feel like it's working that hard. It's not like it's, you know, really revving up to get it moving, right?
No. Anyway, before we go any farther, I just want to get this out there. We'll talk about the equalizing hitch. If you're going to tow a trailer 7,000 pounds like we're doing here right now, you're probably going to want to get an equalizing hitch. We noticed right away with the Tundra when we dropped the trailer on the ball, there's a fair bit of squat, and you can it's visible to have the nose lifting a little bit. Now, why didn't we put an equalizing hitch on it? Well, because it's not our trailer, and for the 30 or 40 minutes that we're going to drive it, I'm not going to spend an hour in the cold setting up an equalizing hitch. So sorry, that's the reason it's not on there.
At the very least, you have to know we're going to do that with the other truck too, so this is straight apples to apples, and in a way it makes it a harder job for the truck without the EQ hitch. So I will make that point, that I do think you're actually pushing the truck a little bit further.
Well, without the EQ hitch in particular, it's like I said, it's really windy today. We're getting this crosswind, so if you really want to get a sense of how well the trailer will track without any help, you don't put on the EQ hitch. You just see how it'll do on its own.
So now we do have to get into sort of how the Tundra is actually driving and feeling. And I think that this new Tundra is really defined by two things. Fully boxed steel frame. That was not the case before, but because the Tundra now shares with the Land Cruiser, it moved to that fully boxed steel frame. And then number two is the new suspension setup and the fact that they moved to coil springs in the rear. And it seems as though the suspension was fully a response to the frame. Somebody said, hey, that frame is way stiffer than it was before, so we need a suspension setup to kind of counteract the stiffness. Now, did it work? Well, we're out here driving today. Let me also mention we do not have the optional airbags in the back. And what Dad and I are both feeling, I think, is an absolutely confident truck, but we're also just feeling everything in the road. Every little bump, every little divot transfers into your butt. Because of the stiffness, that's just the way it comes across to us, is you just get this almost like a chatter. And like I said, I don't think it really translates into a scary driving dynamics, but it's a little uncomfortable.
Well, to Steve's point, just so I can expand on that a little bit, we're on snow-covered side roads right now, and a weird thing happens when they've been plowed over and over again, is the plow actually creates this sort of mini washboard on the road. I mean, you can see it with your eye. They're not the big washboards that you can get on a muddy road. However, that's what I'm really feeling today, is just this absolute bouncy chatter because of that little bit of washboard. So the kickback on the suspension is way more than before. We've driven, for instance, a TRD Pro, which is of course much more, you know, which is softer.
Much softer.
And that boy, you can tell the difference between that and this. That's meant to eat up the bad road. This is doing its job, but just so that you're aware when you get in there and don't say, oh my goodness, what's wrong with the suspension? No, it's just the way it is because of how much stiffer it is than the old one.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, that was our, you know, we did the Pro, we also towed with the TRD off-road, and even in the off-road that had unique shocks, it was still our experience that compared to the old Tundra and this one, you just feel everything a little bit more. And well, I'm curious to get in the Silverado and definitely see how that thing compares.
Yeah, and the last thought I've got here though is just in general, the truck, how it sits, it's pulling straight, trailer's 26 feet. I got this wicked crosswind and it's not pushing it around. I'm not finding that I have to steer against the wind push. You know, there's a slight little twitch in the back, but nothing that would make me nervous.
Okay folks, so we're gonna do a 0 to 100 km/h test. I'll show you the road over there. We're gonna immediately start accelerating up a hill, but we're gonna do the same course with both trucks. So let's go, Dad. Now come around the corner and then just nail it, because we can't come to a stop on this. It is a public road. There's the turbo. Takes a moment for the turbo. You notice it. You always notice it with the turbo engine. The power, you know, takes a second to spool up, but feels nice. And there's 100. So according to this, that was a 24-second 0 to 100. Again, uphill, coming around a corner, but it will still be interesting to compare straight up with the Silverado and see if that thing is any quicker with the big V8.
All right, so we're just about to strip our 7,000-pound trailer off, so we're gonna measure the squat. So let's take a look right from the center of the rim. Steve will yell at me for saying rim.
It's the wheel.
36.5 inches, 36.5. Now let's take it off. Okay, the weight's off now, so let's measure it again. Just a hair over 39.25. So actually, what the hell's that?
Not quite 3 inches.
Not quite 3 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a quarter under. So 2 3/4 inches.
Correct.
Okay, I can still do math. The Alzheimer's hasn't set in yet. All right, on the Silverado then, let's have a look. And you might as well just notice these are 22-inch tires, 18 back there on the Tundra. So this is before any weight. $39 3/4. All right, so our 7,000 pounds is now on the Silverado. $37 even.
Wow.
2 3/4.
That's the same.
I'll be honest, I'm surprised.
That's the same. Me too.
Yeah.
Well, let's go out and see how it feels on the road. And now here we are in the Chevy. Time to back into our trailer. And yes, this is a much smaller screen, but it also offers quite a bit more information when it comes to camera angles than the Tundra. So this is our standard view, the top down and the rear. There's your top down and your front. A front top down, rear top. This cool 3D truck view, which I always enjoy. Those are down the sides of the truck, looking forwards at the front wheels. Then you can get rid of the top-down view if you want, and then this is also for your automatic trailer guidelines. Here's your Chimsel camera. There's so many angles, it's really wild. And then finally, you do have your zoom-in angle there on your hitch. For our purposes, we're gonna go with the rear and the top-down, and let's back in. And then, of course, once you get close, you're able to go over to the zoom in and hopefully drop that hitch right under that pin. Boom. And now here we are on the road in the Silverado. So the first thing I actually want to point out is something just interesting about this truck as you see it today. This is a model year 2022 Silverado. It's only got 1,100 kilometers on it. This truck is brand spanking new, and I'm telling you that because for the 22 model year, GM announced new interiors for the Silverado and the Sierra, but they're actually still building some of the 22 trucks with the old interior. They didn't really say that they were going to do this, so you can almost treat the interior update like a 22.5 update. It's not like every single one of the 22s is the exact same. I just wanted to get that out of the way to clear up. If you look at it and say, hey, that's not a new truck, well, actually, it is. So we're out here driving. We got the big V8 in front of us. Of course, we have tow haul mode turned on. We're driving the exact same roads we just ran in the Tundra. So I'll turn it over to you, Dad, and first let's focus on the engine. What do you feel coming out of the V8, and how does it compare?
The thing I'm feeling between the V8 and that turbo V6 is the V8 gives you a more gradual, linear power. It just goes up like this. You don't have to dig into it as deep. Needless to say, it doesn't jump like the turbo does, of course, when they kick in. That's just a question of size and displacement. So it's acting exactly the way that I would expect. But if I were to say, does it handle the trailer any better than the other one? No, because they both handle the weight. So it's really going to come down to what you like.
Yeah, that's true. It's just straight up a different driving experience. And I'll also throw the unloaded, of course, EPA fuel economy numbers up here. And you'll see that, yeah, going for the twin turbo V6 is going to be a little more efficient than going for the V8, mostly in day-to-day driving. Once you start towing, that usually goes out the window, but it's still worth knowing that, yeah, the Tundra's a little more efficient than this Silverado is.
The other point there that I just want to throw in, because I'm feeling it right now, is that one thing I really liked on the Toyota is how quickly it downshifted on the downhills and used the transmission. The Chevy tends to just kind of roll along, and you can get a downshift, but you literally have to get into the brake to get it to downshift. And so that's actually a different way of doing it.
Yeah, and I think that's actually worth pointing out now that we had the Tow Plus mode, and then it has those two tow haul modes. So I think doing that gave Toyota the chance to say, you know what, in Tow Plus, let's be ultra aggressive. Let's get the downshift right up front, and same thing when you're approaching any kind of stop. So yeah, that definitely made a big difference.
Yeah, using the transmission is just smart. Anything that'll keep you off the brakes is good.
Exactly. So now let's move to the next thing, and that's just the dynamics of the truck. And again, it is similar to the Toyota in so much that it feels competent. You know, I don't think you would say that you're at all worried. It's handling the weight very well. And now the next point though is what you're actually feeling as you drive down the road. And in the Toyota, it felt stiff and sharp. I think those are the words that really come across, because every little hit was just hit. Here in the Chevy, it's very much this cushy, soft kind of bounce, almost like a wave. And that's been what leaf springs have been like forever. And overall, yeah, the Chevy, in my opinion, is just more kind of sorted out and gives you a more confident feeling because you just feel less. It just absorbs more of the road. That's what I'm getting over here. What do you think?
Yeah, well, and you know, thanks to Dufferin Township snowplows for giving us this wonderful washboard surface to try them out on today, because we've run exactly the same loop. And yeah, you know, I guess I just want to throw in there that it's not that pronounced, but if you're looking for it, you can feel it. Toyota, sharp over the bumps. The Chevy is softer.
And you know what, Dad? 2 hours up north, I probably wouldn't care. Driving across the country, I would care. The Silverado would make a long drive just that much more comfortable.
Granted, however, once we get onto pavement, that pretty much goes away. And I don't know, it's just, you know, we got to tell you what we feel. Yep. So this is what we're feeling today. Is it a big deal? I don't know.
Okay, so here comes our 0 to 100 in the Silverado. Exact same hill, exact same turn, and hammer down. Huge power difference, but there's a little more here in the Chev. And there she is, and the numbers bear that out. 0 to 100 here, 21.8 seconds. Now these are not perfectly scientific, but yes, my butt dyno. My butt dyno.
Your
couldn't
butt
get
dyno.
the word. My butt dyno said exactly this, that the Chevy is going to be a little quicker than the Tundra is. And I mean, it makes sense. The Chevy does have about 100 horsepower more. Well, folks, we have arrived at the end of this video. Now, if we started really picking these trucks apart when it comes to price and interior and empty ride and fuel economy, the Toyota has a lot going for it, and I might lean that way. But that's not what this video was about. This video was about which truck pulled the travel trailer better, and the simple answer is the Chevrolet. Of course, it does have more power, but then it also has that linear, naturally aspirated power, plus the tried and true leaf spring suspension, straight up road smoother than in the Toyota. So if you're asking me to spend my money on a half ton to pull a travel trailer, it's gonna be this Silverado. Now, of course, though, I want to hear from you, so please go in the comments, let me know why you think I'm wrong or right, and then, of course, while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we're testing next. See ya.